Today we're going to do is we're going to solve the equation for y. Solve equation for y. Okay, I'm going to start in the left corner here. And let's say that you're given an equation that looks like this. You have some number x plus some number y equals some number. So for example, you may have 10x plus 2y equals 8. Sometimes you'll see equations written this way. Now what we need to change that. And what we're trying to change it to is where we have y all by itself. We want to solve the equation for y. So that it looks like y equals some number x plus some number. That's what it's going to look like. Matter of fact, as we have been graphing, this is what your equations look like that you graph. Y equals some number x plus some number. And this is the two steps that we're going to be doing to get that way. To get y by itself, I'm just going to write this over again. 10x plus 2y equals 8. And the first thing I'm going to do is take the opposite of this number right here, the opposite of 10x. That's our first step. And my second step is to divide to get rid of the coefficient. Remember, to get rid of the coefficient, we usually either multiply or divide. So the opposite of 10x is minus 10x, or the negative 10x. And to get rid of the positive 2 here, I would divide. Divide by 2. And when I take the opposite of 10x and then divide by 2, it's going to look like this. It's going to be y equals negative 5x plus 4. What we'll do is we'll do one problem, one example, then I'll write down the order of the steps, and then we'll do 3 more. So we'll do a total of 4 examples. Here's our first one. Okay, my first step is to get this, do the opposite of 10x. Do the opposite of that. Well, the opposite of 10x is minus 10x. And if I'm going to add, or negative 10x, and if I add negative 10x on this side, then I'm going to have to put negative 10x on the other side. Notice that 10x minus 10x is 0, so you can cross that off. And then I'm just left with positive 2y. I'll bring that down. I'll bring down the equals. And now I cannot combine these. These are not like terms. One of them has an x, and the other one does not. So all I'm really going to do is just kind of, it's like I'm just pushing over the 8. That's a positive 8 there. So it looks like that. Notice all I did is subtract 10x, so it's like I'm putting a negative 10x on the other side. It's like when it switches sides, it has to change sign. Okay, so we're almost there. Now we need to get rid of the 2. And we said to get rid of the coefficient, in this case, we're going to divide. Divide by 2. Okay, again, for reference, I'm just going to write over here, and we're going to write down the order that we do things. First thing we're going to do is take the opposite of x, or the inverse of x. Those words are used interchangeably, inverse and opposite. And the next thing we're going to do is divide the coefficient. Remember, coefficient is the number next to the variable. And I should say that coefficient, that's coefficient of y. Divide coefficient of y. Okay, so those are my instructions. I'm just going to kind of outline that. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and do 3 more examples. For our second example, okay, our first step is to take the opposite of x here. Well, if this is negative 6x, the opposite of that is positive 6x. So we're going to add 6x on this side, and then on the other side of the equals, we're going to add 6x. Now we'll just bring things down. So that's going to give me, now don't forget this minus there, or that negative. Negative 3y. Right? And this is gone, that's 0. Equals, now what I'm going to do is just bring the 6x down. That's positive 6x. Just bring it down. And then the minus 9, just bring it up, bring that down too. But bring down the x part first. That's important. Okay, so all we're left with now to get the letter by itself is to get rid of the negative 3. So what do? We divide the coefficient. The coefficient is negative 3, so we'll divide by negative 3. But you know what? If you do it here, you have to do it to these other terms. Divide everything by negative 3. I'll bring down the equals. And that leaves me with just y. Okay, so let's see. Is our x? Let's see how much I got here. I got 3 goes into 6 twice. So that's a 2. And there's one negative. So it's a negative 2x. Over here, 3 goes into 9 3 times. Right? 9 divided by 3 is 3. But you know what? I'm dividing 2 negatives. That makes a big positive there. So remember, in division, 2 negatives cancel. So here's your answer. You just got y all by itself. Third example. Okay, the first thing we need to do is get rid of the 4x. So I subtract 4x. But you have to do it to the other side. That leaves me with positive 4y. I'll bring down the equals. And now when you now the rest of the stuff, just bring it down. Just bring it straight down. You bring down the x part first. Negative 4x. Oops, kind of sloppy. Negative 4x. And then this is a positive 4. Right? So just put down plus 4. So it should look like, that's what your first step should look like. The second step is to get rid of the coefficient. Okay? And I'm going to be dividing to do that. And if I divide that, I got to divide all the others by the same. To get rid of this 4, I divide by 4. But you have to do that to all of them. So that's going to leave me with y equals, all right, 4 divided by 4 is just 1. And there's one negative. So it's negative 1, or you can just say negative x. It's customary to leave the 1 out. But you can put a 1 if you like. Next, we have 4 divided by 4. That's just 1. And is it a positive or a negative 1? That's a positive 1. So you put a plus because it's positive. Remember, the symbol in front tells you whether it's positive or negative. So there's my equation. I just changed it so that y is by itself. y is negative x plus 1. Fourth example. All right, I need to get rid of the 2x. That's a positive 2x, so I'll do the opposite. I will subtract 2x, but you have to do it to both sides. Bring the rest down. Let's see, that's a positive 4y equals, now just bring this stuff down. Negative 2x, and that's a positive 8, so I'm going to say plus 8. Okay, now we divide. We did the opposite, now we divide. Divide by 4, but you have to do all of them by 4. Each term. So that leaves us with the letter y equals, let's take a look here. This cannot, well, this can be reduced. 2 over 4 is 1/2. And there's one negative, so it's negative. Negative 1/2. Then I have 8 divided by 4, well, that's 2. And it's positive, so it's plus 2. And that's it. We got y all by itself. See that? We just took the opposite, and then we divided.